Victoria Harper never expected her CIA training would be needed at a local park on a sunny afternoon. As shouts erupted near the fountain, her instinct screamed to stay back. Getting involved could blow her cover and jeopardize years of covert operations. But watching an officer harass two innocent men, she knew remaining silent wasn't an option. From new real-life stories comes a tale of courage that challenges everything we think we know about justice. As Victoria sat on a park bench watching her 8-year-old niece, Sophia, play, she faced an impossible choice: protect her identity as a CIA operative or stand up against a clear abuse of power. The warm breeze carried children's laughter across Centennial Park, but Victoria's trained eye caught every detail of the escalating confrontation. She had defused hostile situations in some of the world's most dangerous places. Yet this moment, right here in her own community, would test her resolve like never before. What happened next would not only change her life but spark a movement that nobody saw coming. The confrontation unfolded like a scene Victoria had analyzed countless times in her CIA training. But this was different. This was personal. She watched the officer approach the two men at the fountain, his hand hovering near his weapon, and felt her heart rate quicken, not from fear, but from recognition. She'd seen this pattern before, played out on countless streets and corners across the country. "Everything's okay," she whispered to Sophia, but her niece's worried eyes told her it wasn't. The playground's cheerful atmosphere had shifted, parents pulling their children closer, voices dropping to hushed whispers. Victoria's mind raced through scenarios, weighing each possible outcome with the precision her years of training had instilled. She'd been taught to stay invisible, to observe without engaging. Today, that training felt like a chain around her neck. Now, the officer's command cut through the afternoon air like a blade. Victoria noticed how he positioned himself: aggressive stance, confrontational tone, textbook intimidation tactics. Her fingers gripped the park bench, knuckles whitening. She'd spent years learning to read people, and everything about this officer's body language screamed prejudice, not protection. The tension radiated from him in waves, affecting everyone within sight. The jogger fumbled for his wallet, while the businessman protested, "We haven't done anything wrong." Victoria saw the flash of anger cross the officer's face before he even moved. Her training screamed at her to stay put. Involvement meant exposure. Exposure meant compromise. Yet watching injustice unfold felt like a betrayal of everything she stood for. The weight of her CIA badge pressed against her hip, a constant reminder of her sworn duty to protect. "Aunt Victoria?" Sophia's voice trembled. "Why is he being mean to those people?" The innocence in her question carried a weight that Victoria felt in her bones. This moment would shape her niece's understanding of the world, for better or worse. That question shattered her hesitation. Victoria stood, her movement fluid and purposeful. "Stay here, sweetheart," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Sometimes we have to stand up when things aren't right." Each step toward the confrontation felt like crossing an invisible line between her two worlds, the shadow operative and the citizen who couldn't stay silent. "Officer," she called out, keeping her tone neutral but firm, "I witnessed everything. There's no need for escalation." The way he whirled to face her confirmed her assessment. He was looking for conflict, not resolution. The afternoon sun cast harsh shadows across his face, highlighting the tension in his jaw. His sneer spoke volumes. "And who asked for your opinion?" The contempt in his voice was familiar. She'd heard it in interrogation rooms across the globe, but never expected it here. In a family park on a sunny afternoon, Victoria maintained her composure, though inside she seethed. This wasn't just about authority anymore. It was about abuse of power. "I'm simply stating facts." These men were having a verbal disagreement that resolved itself. She kept her hands visible, her stance open, everything she'd learned about de-escalation coming into play. The crowd grew. Phones emerged, recording. Victoria knew the next few moments would be crucial. When the officer demanded her ID, she saw the trap. He was fishing for another target, another way to assert dominance. The air felt electric with tension, and she could hear Sophia's rapid breathing behind her. "You people always interfere," he spat. And Victoria felt the words like a physical blow. But they also confirmed everything she needed to know about his motivations. Years of training helped her maintain her neutral expression, even as anger burned in her chest. The situation escalated precisely as she predicted. His grab for her wrist was clumsy, telegraphed. Victoria moved with practiced precision, not resisting but not submitting either. Years of training had taught her how to control situations without apparent force. She could feel the crowd's collective intake of breath, the rustle of movement as people pressed closer. "Officer, you're making a mistake," she warned, her voice carrying to the gathered crowd. The badge in her pocket felt heavy, a symbol of the choice she faced. Revealing her identity meant burning years of careful anonymity. But staying silent meant perpetuating a system she'd sworn to protect against. The sound of approaching sirens added urgency to her decision. When he reached for his handcuffs, Victoria made her decision. The fluid movement that broke his grip wasn't just physical training. It was a statement. "I'm not here to fight," she declared, "but I will not be unlawfully detained." Her words rang out, clear and strong, carrying to the furthest edges of the growing crowd. The arrival of backup changed the dynamic, but Victoria held her ground. As she revealed her CIA credentials, she watched the realization dawn on the officer's face. But this wasn't about humiliation. It was about accountability. The gold badge caught the sunlight, drawing all eyes to its authority. Captain Reynolds' arrival brought a shift in power. But Victoria knew the real battle was just beginning. "This isn't about me," she addressed the crowd, her voice strong and clear. "This is about every person who's faced discrimination without the means to fight back. This is about making sure my niece grows up in a world better than the one we have now." The videos spread across social media like wildfire, but Victoria focused on what mattered most. That evening, as Sophia curled up beside her on the couch, small fingers clutching her sleeve, the child asked, "Were you scared, Aunt Victoria?" Victoria stroked her niece's hair, choosing her words carefully. Sometimes being brave means being scared but acting anyway, and sometimes it means standing up, not just for yourself, but for everyone who can't. She felt Sophia's small nod against her shoulder, understanding beyond her years. The department investigation would follow its course. But Victoria knew her real work was just beginning. She'd broken her cover, not just to stop one incident, but to spark a conversation that needed to happen. As news outlets clamored for interviews and social media exploded with hashtags, she remembered Sophia's face in the park, innocent, confused, learning hard truths too early. "This isn't just about policy changes," she told reporters the next day, her voice firm with conviction. "It's about changing hearts and minds. It's about creating a world where no child has to learn about injustice through personal experience." Her words resonated across screens nationwide, carrying the weight of both her authority and her humanity. The ripples of that afternoon in the park spread far beyond what anyone could have predicted. Victoria's stand became a rallying point, a moment that crystallized the need for change. But for her, the most important impact was closer to home. In the way Sophia now stood a little taller, spoke a little braver, and understood that one person's courage could light the way for many. Months after that pivotal day in Centennial Park, Victoria sat cross-legged on her living room floor, helping Sophia with her social studies homework. Her niece's question caught her off guard. "Did you always know you'd have to speak up?" Victoria paused, remembering the split-second decision that changed everything. "No, sweetheart. Sometimes the hardest choices are the ones we don't see coming. But doing what's right isn't about having a badge. It's about having the courage to stand up, even when it's scary." Sophia nodded thoughtfully, then pulled out her drawing of the park, now framed on their wall. The colorful scene showed people of all backgrounds standing together, a reminder that change starts with a single voice willing to break the silence. If this story moved you, be part of the change we're creating at Real Life Stories New. Every like, share, and subscription helps us reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers and allows us to keep bringing you powerful stories of courage and transformation. Together, we can inspire more people to stand up for what's right. Subscribe now and join our community of changemakers.